I know it's going to start here in just a moment. I'm going to give it a second or two. I see the little spin wheel, and it looks. Hey, good morning or good whatever time it is when you're watching this. My name is Brian Martin, and I am the author of this wonderful little book, Eternity is the E in Love, and it is experience meaning and change the world with the power of love. Doesn't that sound like a fun idea? Oh, would you just look at me? My goodness. I need a haircut. Man, I miss my barber. I can't get my beard trimmed. I can't get my hair cut. I'll be glad when this COVID-19 shelter in home is shelter in place is done with. One of my favorite rituals is going to see my barber. I searched a long time to find my barber. I had a barber for many, many years, and he retired. He left me in a lurch, and I went and searched and searched. I finally found a master barber that I could relate to, and who was really, really good at trimming my beard and my hair also. I need a haircut, both of them. That's a beautiful ritual, going to see him. It's soothing, and you know what I'm talking about if you have a favorite barber that you use. Today in my book, I'm going to be talking about rituals. Oh, but I wanted to talk to you for just a moment about that picture. That I took that picture. No, I'm not sure if I took that or if my granddaughter Stella took that, or Jenna. But this is a trip that I took with them. That's Lauren, who's facing Half Dome there. And this is on Centennial Dome up by Glacier Point in Yosemite National Park. And I included this photo on the cover of my book because I make an allusion to a verdant, grassy area that rises up into infinity, like Yosemite Valley rises up into Half Dome. One of the beautiful features about Yosemite Valley is being able to go there and to get your binoculars and to look and see if you can see the people on top of Half Dome. And so that inspired the vision that I have in this book, which is the second part of the book, or the segue. The second part of the book is actually about rituals, and today I'm going to be reading to you about religious rituals. Are you ready? Here we go. If you don't practice some kind of religious practice, you may want to skip this next section. You ever read that in a book where it says, if you don't want to see the violence, then don't go this way, or if you don't want the detail, go somewhere else. Well, here's a disclaimer for you, but please don't leave the broadcast because I think that you're going to enjoy this and it's going to be helpful for you. However, I think you'll find religious rituals interesting and relate to other areas of life. Since I mention religion, let me say this to you who practice a religion. Please be more mindful of your religious rituals. I find that most people have religious habits, not rituals. They mindlessly attend to their religious habits without giving meaning and significance to them. You see this all the time, people who go to the Mass and just for going to the Mass for the sake of the Mass. But then there's other people who I mentioned in this book also, who just simply can't stand some of the doctrine and the theology of the church, but they love the ritual, and so they go to the Mass. The ritual is important. Rituals are habits to which we consciously give meaning to our habits. These rituals are packed with meaning, but when you just go through the motions like a habit, they are meaningless. Moreover, you don't want to be a puppet of your religious culture. What I mean by that is when you mindlessly approach your religion and blindly accept its tenets, you are allowing the culture of your religion to dictate your beliefs and your actions. In other words, you are letting your religious culture determine the key aspects of your identity. Religious power brokers love that you do this, but it is an insult to your magnificent brain. Make sure that you assign meaning to your religion, its rituals, its rules, its regulations, and its beliefs. When you don't assign meaning and mindlessly accept the tenets of your faith, your religion is literally meaningless. How do you assign meaning to your faith? Good question. Here's an example. I just mentioned it to you. There are millions who love their Roman Catholic faith and tradition, especially the Mass. The Mass is a moving ritual which resonates deeply for them. But when it comes to some of the tenets of the Church, many Catholics wholeheartedly disagree with the Church or simply ignore its authority. Many believe women should be priests. The Church doesn't. Many believe priests should be able to marry and have families. Generally, the Church doesn't. Many adherents believe the Church has been complicit in protecting sexual predator priests. Many believe the hierarchy of the Church is not the authority that it claims to be. They simply love the beautiful, historic worship tradition of the Church and the message of the gospel. So in spite of their disagreement with the Church, they retain their religious Catholic identity and do so proudly. They have assigned meaning to their religion. Their participation with the rituals is meaningful, and they intentionally retain their identity as Roman Catholic. Of course, the Roman Catholic tradition is merely one example. Many people of diverse religions and cultures use similar approaches to assign meaning to their religion and culture. This habit of religion is a problem for many who were born into their faith. Many religions have ethnic or nationalistic roots. Since many were born into their religion, that religion is dictated to be their religion and a key aspect of that person's identity. For instance, if you were born into a Greek Orthodox family, your Greek Orthodox ethnic religious heritage becomes a key aspect of your culture and your personal identity. The same is true for many Jews and Muslims and Buddhists and Sikh and Hindu and Zoroastrians and Lutherans, Aboriginal people, and so many more. The religion becomes a cultural identity by birth and is accepted merely as a reality of life, like a process that must be endured, but not of much consequence, except for ethnic food and key traditions, like coming of age traditions, and weddings and funerals. Other than that, religion for many is merely a habit. Those who are born into religious cultures could mine, M-I-N-E, the riches of their religious mindfully, M-I-N-D-F-U-L-L-Y. What wonders they would discover, what freedom they would achieve. The Vineyard Christian Fellowship is another example. The ritual of the music of the vineyard is called worship. A worship set can last for 30 minutes or more. During worship, participants enter a state described and is experienced as the presence of the Holy Spirit, facilitated by the music and its emotional content. The experience brings joy and gladness, repentance, empowerment, and healing. Sometimes this is accompanied with other spiritual phenomena like speaking in tongues and prophecies. It is a deeply moving, sometimes ecstatic experience. The vineyard worship is not the historic, traditional Christian worship experience. The participants and the members of the vineyard assign meaning to the ritual of worship, and the experience is deeply meaningful. Here's a final and another personal example of assigning meaning to your religion. One of the most recent pastoral experiences, my most recent pastoral experience was Heartland Community Church in Fresno, California. I founded the church in 2001 and led the church until the end of 2018. It was an independent church, not affiliated with any other group or denomination. Let me share our Sunday morning ritual. I created the liturgy, borrowing many elements from many sources. We had a small music team, which was often solo led by gifted guitarist Mr. Paul Alleman. The music moved me deeply, and it had a visceral effect. I could feel it in my belly. After 3 great songs selected by Mr. Alleman, I prayed an invocation and I lit a candle, which represented the presence of God with us. This was followed by an offertory and the singing of the doxology. Next, we recited the Apostles' Creed. I always recited the Creed mindfully, as it has theology, and I like to contemplate the theology of the Apostles' Creed. Then we shared peace and people were able to greet one another. Some exchanged hugs and others exchanged a kiss. This was followed by Tell Me Something Good, where individuals share good events and experiences from the week. Next, I read the gospel lesson. We followed the Christian year and the prescribed readings of the Revised Common Lectionary, a habit and a ritual, I might add. I only read the gospel lesson as I'm more interested in Jesus, his teachings, his relationships, and his manner of thinking about things than I am with Moses, David, or Paul. This, of course, was very meaningful to me and my congregation. Reading and rereading the Gospels in a 3-year cycle is like returning to the same river year after year. The water there is never the same, neither is the person who returned to it. Yet the water is always refreshing. I always discovered something new in the gospel lesson because I ritually assigned meaning to it. After the gospel lesson and my presentation, notice I didn't use the word sermon, we moved to a communion service, which again is very meaningful to me. In the end, we concluded by reciting the Lord's Prayer. As you can see, this service is full of rituals and very meaningful because I assigned meaning to it. I paid attention and I was mindful of all the nuances. If you are a religious person, you can find great meaning and significance in life through your religious experience, and that meaning can be enhanced to a much greater degree when you intentionally assign meaning to the rituals of your faith and not just mindlessly endure the habit. And here are key rituals. Here, what follows are key ritual activities that you can engage in and attribute meaning to. I'll stop the reading there, and I will leave it up to you to read the 10 rituals that I have bullet pointed here on pages 110, 111, and 112. And I would like to encourage you to do that. My book is available on Amazon, and if you would like to, you can get one there. And if you can't afford a book and you would like to have a book, or if you'd like to have me sign a book for you, I would be happy to provide a book for you. See, my book is a million seller. No, it didn't sell 1 million, but I have 1 million down in the cellar. That's an exaggeration. As you know, I like to tell stories. Some of my stories are real stories, and some of my stories are a true story. That was a real story. I'm Brian Martin, and I am happy to be with you on a weekly basis every Saturday morning at 9 o'clock. You'll find me at Love Brian Martin on Facebook. And on Sunday morning, I continue my ritual of studying the gospel lessons from the Revised Common Lectionary. And I do that every Sunday morning at 9 o'clock. And it's at another Facebook page. It's Rev B. Martin. That's Rev B. Martin. And you're more than welcome to join me. It's another 15, 20-minute talk. Not too long, not too short, but just right. It's a Goldilocks time. I'm Brian Martin. Thank you so much for being with me today. And man, I hope I can get a haircut pretty soon. I love that ritual. Bye-bye.